dear. So following this schedule a little bit, what we're really saying is by the end of tonight, we will have pinged off that top box, which will include everything you need for the first assessment. Then on the Thursday, we shall start that list of the buyer behaviour and so on. With a bit of luck, that should sort of tighten up the course a little bit, adding that extra day. So you won't have very hot nights, you won't necessarily overdo it. So we have therefore pretty much covered what was in your handout in the introduction piece, and therefore the only thing I probably need to go down, if you turn to that handout you had last night on the top of this, so if you drop to the halfway down the bullet point marketing approaches, I'll just quickly touch base on those. The marketing approaches halfway down the front page of that handout. Now you leave it to me, we've got the assistant there. Hang on, turn it over. Yeah. So these are just in a nutshell, and they're a little bit relevant probably to question 2 in your assessment, where it says an accountant says blah 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 blah. That's what you're showing me before here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the various approaches, and they're probably historical. So the first one, the oldest one, is the production concept, when you see marketing as simply selling production, nothing more. No talk about needs or wants or anything like that. We do coal, so we sell our production of coal, or whatever. Then there was a little bit of a move towards so-called product concept, which recognised that businesses would sell many different products. That it's still like a production comment, but you might be making cosmetics, so you will have, your product will be hair shampoo maybe, and so on. Then we get on to the selling concept, which simply said we have to sell what we are making. So the emphasis went on to how are we going to sell this stuff? And that's when advertising and things started to come in. Then we hit the marketing concept, which was the marketing concept is where we pretty much started last week with the definition. This was the creation of products and the meeting consumer needs and wants sort of stuff. In other words, matching up what an organisation was doing with what potential customer needs and wants were. Then possibly where we are now, and we'll talk about this tonight in the second handout a wee bit, we could probably say we are now moving into what they call societal marketing concept, and that is recognising that people live in a society. So there are individuals and households, and people and families live in societies. Therefore, we need to study how people behave in societies as much as individuals and households. And then we will reinforce that when we hit the topic next time on buyer behaviour, how people behave. Two more bullet points. One is globalisation, which in a nutshell is saying, well, it's a bit of a cliche, but we live in a global village. In other words, we buy and sell and are influenced by what's happening around the globe. So, just for example, as sure as God made little apples, the opening of Amazon in Australia this morning, I think it was, or yesterday, inevitably will affect New Zealand in some way or another. Even just the idea that it's there. Because people are not entirely recognising what Amazon is doing. You might not. I tend to think of Amazon as having zillions and zillions of different things to sell, but I don't take too much notice of where they come from. But I noticed reading about it this morning, in Australia they're going to be very heavily into buying in and on selling Australian stuff. And therefore, people like Harvey Norman and Kmart to some extent, and I forgot the name of the big, David Jones, the big department, they're going to take a bit of a hiding because Amazon will be selling the same sort of stuff they're selling. Anyhow, so that's globalisation. And the last bullet point on that handout, just to remind you of it, was the concept of the moments of truth, which recognises that in a whole range of contexts between an organisation and its customers, you can make or break how the person or customer feels about the organisation in many, many, many different moments of truth. So, here we go with the next chunk for the wheelbarrow. So this is all about the environment in which we work and market. The environment in its largest sense being everything all around us. So, you will see the topics it covers there, things that influence how we do business, first page in, and then so we'll work through a few PowerPoints which are all on the back of that handout. So, in the first instance, if we're talking about a business environment, we are talking about micro-environments which are part of or inside or very close to the firm or organisation.
So that's your internal environment?
Mainly internal,
okay.
Yes. Then you have the external factors or the macro environment. That's the great big wide world all around you. I'm going to have a little bit of a look at consumer legislation. That's important because it varies in different markets and it's something we always have to think about. And the last one in this topic is looking at competitive advantage. And almost like a subtopic, which is on this PowerPoint down here, is a look at social responsibility, which is on this sheet. So, as usual, we can start with a definition. The business environment being the social, people in the society, technological environment all around us, within firms and around us, the most obvious one being the internet and social media. The economic environment, which is how the world and how national economics are playing out. And the last one is the political environment. So two big political environments. As you're only too well aware, we've just had a change of government. So that will change the environment in which a business functions. So I'm working backwards really at the moment. Political environment on the West Coast with the change of government is clearly going to put pressure on conservation and opening mines and access in conservation areas and so on. There's a bit of pressure coming up now. I imagine the West Coast will be capable of resisting some of that, but it's a change.
So what do you plan to say? What we are?
Social, the society in which people, the business and the people live. So I now will jump back up to the top. I started at the bottom for no particular good reason. The social environment of the firm, taken locally, we could say that there are subtle differences between Bulla, Grey in the Grey Valley, and Hokitika, and then Southwestern. They each have slight, and sometimes quite big differences really, in those societies.
So different needs, is that what you?
Yeah, well, they're sort of different people. Sometimes it's little things, right?
Yeah.
The people that have got a restaurant thing out at Moana always are telling us that people come there from Hokitika and various other places, but their Greymouth people won't travel. But there is actually a reason for that. If you really think about it, Greymouth has a long history of people working in the mines and in mining, quarrying and things like that. And typically, especially the mines and the mainly the mines, have run on rotational shift things. So that means that on any given night, a miner and their family may or may not be able to go out. It tends to, the working hours are much different. Whereas in Southwestern, it all happens around the retail and the tourist operations, and that sort of thing. I mean, I think most of us will agree that, you know, the two closest places, Hokitika and Greymouth, are only half an hour drive apart, but they're different. People are
Agree.
different, environments are different.
Yep.
Technological, there are two aspects really for technological. Within the firm, or its micro environment, technology may be important to the firm and perhaps an important benefit. I want to think of a good example of that. Well, actually, heavy equipment in mining is not a bad example. The technology for that has changed. The underground mines have been closed. You can get, instead of having big machines for shifting stuff around, you can have gigantic machines for shifting stuff around, and then the processing of the, now I'm talking about gold, the processing of ore or whatever, up until fairly recently, the recovery methods, you struggle to get a 50% recovery, and that's encouraged geologists and technologists to work out ways of getting a better recovery of the gold, and that's why if you go out looking at the end of Marsden Road and places like that, they are reworking the old workings. They're not opening new mines, they're just getting stuck in and down.
There's some miners.
He's really only reworking, isn't he? Just shifting huge use of material.
But I mean, like you said, a lot of the new equipment, like he's got $500,000 diggers or whatever, so they've all got GPSs in them. So you can see, if you're using a high, economy fuel or not, and all those sort of things, which obviously if you're not using economy and using more fuel, then it affects your bottom line,
Exactly.
So all those things,
And it's changed the nature of the business, because now you've got to front up with huge sums of money to make the investment, which in the end will pay off. Now I read in the paper, I think it was, or somewhere or other, I'm not even sure, I'm sure the article said.
Someone steal a digger. Is that the one?
No, the one I'm reading about is a guy from South Canterbury who set up a dairy farming operation which he can sit in an armchair in Queenstown and drive through a computer. Now, I'm sure he probably can. I can't imagine he couldn't have it entirely remote from people. But anyhow, it's all set up. So the gate's open, the cows habitually go up the path, and they do that now anyway. So they wander up there, and then they get to the shed, and they get formed into a sort of a queue and into the milking stations, sort of themselves. And then robots connect the cups to them, etc., etc. I think I believe it. I think it's possible.
Wow.
But I'm not sure it's actually doing it.
AI too far.
Interesting stuff. And then technology is also, of course, in our time, certainly not in my time, but in yours, has become massive in terms of electronic communications, ICT, information, communications, technology. I mean, when I was in, the first things I was doing in business was your main communication was you would write a letter, send it to somebody in Europe, it would take 3 days to get there, then take a day or two to answer it, it would take 3 days to get back. So the turnaround time for an email letter, if you were writing an inquiry to a firm in England, was somewhere around about 8 to 9 days. There is actually something quite interesting about that though. What skills tended to happen because of that fact? That 8 days turnaround time to get information in order to do something.
What skills come of that?
Yeah, what tended to happen that doesn't happen now?
You'd research? No? Your spelling was good?
Instead of sending a letter, do you mean?
No, because the letter was the only way you could really do it. Yeah.
Patience.
No, I really have to say something like, it's a bit of a hobby horse of mine actually, to be quite honest. People had to think for themselves. You couldn't wait 8 days to make a decision. You had to make a call on it. Whereas now, the emails just go brr, 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 and nobody moves without communicating and asking. And the emails are relatively slow too. I've thought quite a lot about that because we lived for a little while in America, not for very long. And anyhow, I was dealing with an outfit in Seattle. And could I contact them by telephone? Not a chance. They would not, no, he's sorry, he's not available, blah, 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 blah. Just, sorry, by email, he's not available, and I'd ring them up and say, in the end, I went up there and I said, hey, look, listen, am I missing something? Basically, you don't do emails for some reason. And he said, no, you're absolutely right, we don't. They're actually slow. An email comes in, we have to look at it, we have to write an answer and send it back, and usually somebody else sends an answer to that and it yo-yos. And he said, on a phone, all the yo-yoing just can happen at about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And we put the phone down. I actually reckon he's right.
yeah.
Yeah, but then it could be also, he said, she said, that Miss
Well,
they
they
Yes.
change the crowd for the,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's something you can say, well, no, you said that in your email. You've got it
Except,
there in writing.
Yeah.
So someone could,
Why were you dealing with high business?
there's one other thing they did.
I recorded it, did they?
They recorded it, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway,
Oh, we'll just play that.
Yeah.
I'm showing what a dinosaur I am because I think I've already said to you I believe that the fax machine was one of the greatest inventions. But anyhow, it's bye-bye. Economic. Most countries have some sort of approach or set of economic policies. It's fall into several groups, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but New Zealand, massively, Australia, a lot, United Kingdom, England, a lot, in the US, a lot, all have a so-called free market economy. So all things like their exchange rates and interest rates and things like that are reasonably free to float around. And there is not so much government control of the economy. For all sorts of reasons which I won't go into. We are at almost the extreme of that, which does lead to things that sometimes can annoy people in business. For example, the pressure on housing, where the housing rates are rocketing up, cost of houses, and so on, means that money flows into New Zealand from overseas investors to buy these sorry houses. And you can read a little bit about possibly some controls on that.
Yeah.
When money flows into New Zealand, the value of the dollar goes up.
Of the New Zealand dollar.
Yes. And that means that imported stuff for us is relatively cheaper, but people exporting and getting paid in an overseas currency lose money when our dollar goes up. So the dairy farmers, miners down in Ross, and the milk company, and farmers generally, and exporters do not like this situation. They say, we don't like the fact that when house prices are going up, it impacts on our incomes. And they got a point, yes. But that is what tends to happen in fairly free market economies. And the other thing is that I'm sure you remember when you used to get subsidies on sheep and lamb production and things like this, they will be higher in New Zealand. But in England, they get about 30% on the lambs and things like that. So the European economies, like France to some extent, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Holland, etc., they tend to be what they call social capitalist countries. They have higher tax rates, but more benefits to the people who buy. They have a freer education system, a freer hospital system, and all of this sort of thing. Right, all the messages here is that different economies affect us differently, and changes in the economy affect us. At the moment, we have low interest rates. which suits businesses. So,
So thank God for that.
yeah. And, to me, they're quite incredulous because we have routinely had house mortgages at 19% and overdrafts at about 25%, so imagine that. See how it goes. Right. So we were out with that. The environment affects all these things. Or should. We should be aware of our environment. And that's what we said. So, this thing sort of sets it up. Here's our organisation. The purple ring is the so-called internal environment and talks about the materials that a business might use, the money it needs, its labour, people that work for it, and equipment or technology that's needed to make it tick along. So if you took the mining operation, the materials, probably mainly diesel, go into it. The equipment, massive equipment goes in, money, a lot of investment money, and potentially if the operation's successful, you usually get it back. And the labour, more and more businesses and organisations are looking to reduce person labour and increase, I'll call it robotic labour. Whoops, I can't turn it off. Here it comes. Right, yes. Okay, so that's the internal bit. Now the external or global environment is all outside here, what's happening in our economy. I'm sure you can see how it sort of fits. Competitors, economic conditions, technological conditions, political and legal. New Zealand is reasonably unusual in that it has fairly strong consumer legislation and it has the dreaded Resource Management Act, which is a wee bit unusual in the world. Demographic, our types of people. Cultural, we have a multicultural society probably, and the ecosystem is all about things like air pollution, native forests over here, digging holes in the national park, things like that. So there is sort of a hierarchy. Here's our organisation. Its immediate external environment is the region in which it lives. We have a fairly distinctive West Coast region, which is somewhat shut off from the rest of New Zealand. Then national external environment, New Zealand. New Zealand is a nation, so we talk about a national environment. That's all the New Zealand type of laws, ways of doing things. And then we have global environment, what happens outside of New Zealand. Why is that line around there red?
Because it stops there, it can't go any
That's
further.
red over, it's even red over there.
Can't go past being global. Green, black, red.
Disaster.
Out of colour.
No, I I just put it there because I think the most significant global thing at the moment is China, so I put it red.
I was going to say like North Korea
Far
or
out.
something. Trump.
Uh,
That will make the price of gold go up. Those two.
Can you rate?
So National's black from the All Blacks, yeah?
Sorry?
National will be black for the All Blacks.
Oh, yes, well, I hadn't thought of that, yes. I did wonder about putting another one out here, whether or not we should sort of talk about outside the Earth.
Space.
Yeah.
Nah, we're good.
Well, should we be really filling up space with junk? For instance?
No, we should not.
No. Are there any ETs out there? Probably
there
are.
isn't.
I bet there are.
No.
We're probably the ETs.
Actually, there's an article I read recently that was saying we're all just part of a huge computer simulation, which is a bit interesting.
Yeah, I know a few people that believe we're just in a matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an awful matrix.
That's
Oh, well, I
something like
once went to a lecture where there's a guy, a very eminent physicist, going on about, outer space and the universe and all this sorts of thing. And anyhow, he got a question from the floor, and he said, well, do you believe that there's life out there? And he said, oh yes, I do. You couldn't possibly not believe there's life out there. Why is it? Why we would be just a little wee, tiny thing on our own in that vast universe? And so the questioner said to him, well, why haven't we seen any hardware, that they've come and landed or something like that? And he said, oh, it's an easy answer to that. They get close, they look at us and think, oh, maybe this, we're off. Find something more. I don't want to labour this too much because this is a slide that is used for some other things, but we probably need to think about a few things in the economy that affect businesses more than anything that people don't always realise. And unfortunately, the people that are in your banks here don't either, which doesn't help. So these, you don't really have to take too much notice of these, but it's worth looking and keeping an eye on the growth or lack of growth in an economy. And the measure is a thing called gross domestic product, which you do see in the paper every now and then. They have a headline. And if it's increasing, they'll say something like there was an increase in GDP of 3.4%. Well, that would be quite good. Or if it was minus 2.1%, well, hang on a minute, it's going down for a bit. And that just gives people a bit of a trigger. If there's a change in inflation, prices go up. So firms face an increase in inputs, what they're paying for things like fuel or whatever else. And therefore they tend to want to put the prices up, so all of a sudden the prices go up in the supermarket a little bit. Employment is of interest. We seem to go in cycles. We're at a cycle now where you could nearly say that our unemployment rate is such that it's really only comprised of people who won't or can't work. There's not a lot of unemployment in New Zealand at the moment, or shouldn't be. But there have been times when it's been unemployment rate of about 10%, something like that, and it's very high.
So that would be because of like all the quakes and stuff, like creating more jobs, maybe?
Yeah. Yes, because I mean, there's a lot of, if you look at Kaikoura, the alternative highway, the Christchurch rebuild, unfortunately, those are all a bit negative, but they do add to employment mightily. Now, the taxation rates are going to influence everybody if they change. I don't know they are going to change very much. They might. Don't worry about money supply statistics. Doesn't matter much. Credit card spending and household debt needs to be a bit of interest. We need to watch that a bit. It's going through a cycle of going up mightily. If interest rates go up much or even a bit, all of a sudden people are going to be in trouble. They won't be able to afford the interest rates on their Auckland mortgages, and the credit card merry-go-round will stop. And the way that works is that, I'm being a bit rude to Aucklanders because it probably happens elsewhere too actually, but mortgage money is easy to get if you can afford the interest rate. So what happens is the uppies in Auckland run up their 2 or 3 credit cards, and they're getting up to the island is going to be pretty hard to pay, so they can go and easily add a bit to their house mortgage. They do that, and so away they go again, and then the credit cards build up again, and they go and add a bit more to the house market. All of that works fine until something goes wrong with the pile-up, like the house prices go down or the interest rates go up. Just think we've got to watch that a bit here. It's going to affect mining operations, I don't think, but it's you just got to watch that a bit in New Zealand. And then, don't worry about the Reserve Bank at the moment either, but foreign exchange is where our exchange rates vary. So, if businesses are importing or exporting, they have to recognise that they could, if they're importing, that the person in the other country is going to want to ultimately be paid in their currency, not ours, and the other way around. If we're an exporter, we're ultimately going to be paid in an overseas currency and eventually into our banks. It goes out of our banks and gets changed for imports. It comes into our bank and gets changed for exporters. Now, in a nutshell, the exchange rates in a free market, which we have, are free to go up and down. So that if there's a big wool shipment in the past, a lot of wool will be sent overseas, or a lot of milk product will be sent overseas and be paid for, and the money will come into New Zealand, and that will tend to push the value of our dollar up. Now, what people don't realise is that in this modern world, you could talk about New Zealand having a gross domestic product of, top of my head, $150 billion. Now, these currency markets are subject to speculation of people buying some US dollars now and then selling it later when they think they will make a bit of money on the variation in the exchange rate. Now, the rather fascinating but rather frightening thing is that the speculators, every day and every night, their trading is vastly greater than all our exports and imports added up, vastly greater. So it is they who are affecting the value of our dollar more than are sending container loads of milk out to China. So if New Zealand's got a gross domestic product, exports and imports altogether, of about $150 billion a year, there's approximately $50 billion traded each 24 hours on the New Zealand foreign exchange market with speculators. So that's about a third of New Zealand's whole year's transactions in one 24-hour period. That it is massive, and all around the world it's even more massive. It's in trillions of dollars a day. Now, people like the milk company and the coal miners and gold miners, they are powerless to control what the speculators are doing, and that's tough. And we seem to just have to wear it. Some countries control the exchange rates, we don't. True. If firms are in the business of doing transactions that are quite big, they can go to the bank and talk about what they call hedging or a foreign exchange contract. They can get a rate. Just suppose that you were sending 100 tonnes of gold out overnight or something like that. Would we ever? No, say a container train of thingamabobs, milk powders going down the rail tonight. It might not be that smart to change the currency tomorrow. It might have paid them to have frozen the exchange rate on the value of those. You pay a little bit more for it, but at least you know for sure what you're going to get. So if something funny happens overnight with the speculators, or Donald Trump says something stupid and the dollar changes, then you have the rate frozen. You can do that. It does cost you, but it's like insurance, really. Yeah. Just a reminder, is this what happens? The variations impact on exports, imports and tourism. It's a bit of a mystery at the moment why so many tourists are coming even though our dollar is high. And usually more come when our dollar is low. So we must be a really attractive country at the moment. Right, I will jump this. In our external environment, we have quite strong consumer legislation. I put it in your handouts. It's in two categories. And it's in your handout. I'll just give you the key points for them, which will enable you to answer questions and so on. Every time you make and sell a product or a service, it is protected by the Consumers Guarantee Act. That's this first one. There are two principles. First, the product or the service must be fit for purpose. Just as a wee aside, I mean that could even apply to us. If I had been a bit naughty with you guys and said, oh well, we're going to offer the XYZ paper, and if I talked you into perhaps doing an accounting paper or something like that and said to you, well that of course would be useful for your businesses and all the rest. That may not be fit for your purpose. And the other thing with fit for purpose is a product. Supposing I am selling lawnmowers, motor mowers, and somebody comes in and buys a motor mower and he takes it home and he uses it for a bit, and it packs up. Has to go and be repaired. Now, he will argue, hang on a minute, fit for purpose, you expect it to last 3 or 4 years before it needed that, and he would be right. He would have protection for that. But when you sell something, you need to make sure, though, that it is fit for purpose and you don't get caught. Go back to the lawnmower example. The guy comes in, and he happens to be a lawnmower contractor, but I don't particularly know that. He comes in and he wants a cheap lawnmower, and I sell him a cheap lawnmower, and off he goes, and 2 or 3 weeks later he comes back and said, that thing's broken down, the bloody. And I suddenly realised, you must be a contractor. You're going out, a lawn mowing operator. Now, a domestic lawnmower would not be fit for purpose for a lawn mowing contractor. Or take a simple thing like a power drill. Now, amateur do-it-yourselfers like me probably go and buy Black & Deck or something for $169, and it goes pretty well for me, lasts all right. But a builder goes in and buys one of those, and 3 or 4 days later it's had it. So the one that I'm sold is fit for my purpose, no problem, and it has what they call an intermittent rating. In other words, I'm not using it all the time, I'm turning it off every now and then. Whereas a builder could have the thing running all the time, and it would overheat and do all sorts of horrible things, one of those cheap ones. So you have to balance fit for purpose. And it's, this fit for purpose thing comes right through. Who's the worst one of this that I can think of? Harvey Norman once tried to, I'm not sure what I was buying, I think there must have been something, were trying to sell me an extended warranty. It's ages ago, what was it? Oh no, it's TV set. You want an extended warranty for this? I said, no, I won't. Oh, you will. What happens if? I said, I will be well and truly protected by the Consumer Guarantees Act if that thing breaks down within about 5 years. Oh, no, you wouldn't. I said, better go and have a look at your facts. You might get caught. Because that, if the thing had unreasonably failed within a reasonable length of time, they'd have been paying. It's a bit of complicated law. They have to replace it, or they have the right to repair it if that's satisfactory or whatever.
Well, it's like going in and they're trying to sell you insurance. But I mean, most people have content insurance.
Yeah.
So why would you bother taking out insurance again?
No.
Warehouse are doing that now too.
Yeah.
Extended warranties. For an $85 fee, you can get a year.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you've already got it.
Yeah.
They'll try and tell
Yeah.
you a few things, but they can't buck the Consumer's Guarantee Act in the end. And the principle is fit for purpose, and it has to be seen to be reasonable. We had to watch it with bikes. Somebody comes in and buys a really, really cheap bike. I always used to tell the dealers, for God's sake, ask him what he wants it for. If he says he's just got drunken charge and he's just going to ride it to work for 3 months, that's fine. Sell him the cheap one. Don't even. If he says he's going to get fit and bike 15 miles to work each day, don't sell a cheap one. Especially if he's going to go on a mountain bike track. Right, the other piece is, it's very important in New Zealand, is the Fair Trading Act. That is all about truth in advertising. You are not allowed to mislead people. So it's all in your handout. There's a few little things you can't do. You can't have bait advertising and say butter from, God only knows what it is now, $2.90 a pack, limited supplies. Now if you've only got about 3 packs of butter in there in that price, and everybody that's coming in is coming in to get your cheap butter,
Countdown.
and
Shit, fall for that.
it's not there, and they haven't had reasonable stocks, and they're liable. that would be bait advertising.
Countdown do that all the time, especially with butter.
Yeah, if you could prove it.
And they're like, no, we're out and there's no more out the back.
If you
And
could
no.
prove it, you could go them,
Don't
We
tell
have-
her that.
we have
Oh
some.
man,
We have sometimes they'll leave up there, 2 for 1. Like I've got a couple of pieces of shorts for my daughter, and I'm like, oh, no, you signed it 2 for 1.
yeah, and then they go, oh, but the date is.
Well, I'm like, well, no, she was actually really good. She obviously knew a shizzle because she said, well, the sign's still up, should have been taken down yesterday. And
Yeah.
I said, well, you sign us up, 'cause I'm telling you now. And she goes, okay, well, I've got to give it to you for that price and then that sign. I'm like, sweet, that's good. So I got 2 pieces of shorts for $2.50. Or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
Now we and service organisations like us also have got to make sure what we're offering is fit for purpose and that it's truth in advertising. I would, I'd have to be very careful about saying a diploma in business course you do here is probably the cheapest in New Zealand. I mean, technically it might be, but by God, it wouldn't take much to change it. And then some universities or whatnots might all of a sudden come out and say it's that much less. We would have been very careful about making statements like that. With the bikes, we couldn't say children's bikes from $99 unless we had plenty from $99. We can't mislead.
I can
Misleading me.
see you now.
I feel you, I'm being misled.
I'd be telling you.
Under the
somewhere else.
Fair Trading Act, is it Act? Under the Fair Trading Act.
Yeah, well, it's all in your hand now.
Yeah.
It's fairly concise.
Are we doing our wee thingies?
That's the thing.
I'm not sure.
The wee exercises? No, there's one after the consumer's guarantee.
Oh,
And
no,
one
you
after the
can,
Fair Trading
look, I
Act.
just left those in because it'll make you think about an answer to it, even
Okay.
though it's not necessarily in the assessment. Yeah.
Okay,
There's one also with social responsibility a bit later over it.
okay.
Really a bit like a reading guide. I won't do them in class with you particularly. Now, the competitive advantage piece. Whoops. In most cases, business organisations increasingly have powerful competitors. Almost no matter what they're doing, for services and products. So even the coal mines do have competitors. Grey Valley is not the only place that produces coal in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Now, some of those big products tend to have commodity prices, so the competitive, which means they're the same the world over, which means that the competitive advantage for the coal miner is how efficiently they're digging it out of the ground. The people, I'll think of their name in a minute, Westfleet, the fish people down there, they send trawlers out and whatnot, and they have a fish processing factory. Now, they have competition. Again, the price for fish tends to be a world market price. So they basically, their competition to stay in business is all about how efficiently they can process their fish. Now, the risk of being blasé about it, a hokey fish comes in, out of the crate and hits the table to be filleted. And so, they are very dependent on how efficient and how fast the filleters get the fillets off the hoki. And they'll be looking for what they call a recovery rate, that is saleable fish fillets, of around 70% of hoki. And so everything they do better than that is better for their business, everything they do worse is not so bad. The orange roughies, I think it is, which we don't have out here, I don't think, do we? Orange roughies are deep sea fish and they're very, very popular. And they had to introduce some new technology for them, not here, but in Timaru. They had a frozen drum machine technology. So you know how when you stick your slightly damp hand onto something that's really frozen, your hand sticks?
Yeah.
Well, that's the principle of these things. So the old fish fillet came along and the skin stuck like glue to the drum, and the drum had a knife, very sharp knife blade that took the fillet off, and then the old fish skin just dropped into the waste. Now there was a very good reason for that, why that happened. The reason is this: the very deep sea fish have a fatty layer on them, which is poisonous. So when you fillet them, you've got to get that off and be sure you've got it off. So those frozen drum machines did that. So that was leading technology, which made them competitively advantaged for a while in orange roughy fish. So just to emphasise that competition is all around us. Nobody can escape it. Even monopoly sort of service organisations like hospitals and whatnot are basically competing with other hospitals for funding and all sorts of things. So I'm going to jump the technical stuff here. It's all about how good firms are at doing what they do or can do, and I'm going to come right to the end of it because in this day and age you could say that almost anybody can quickly copy almost anything. A firm could simply copy what a competitor could simply copy what a firm was doing, and any advantage would quickly disappear. Like when I went into Taiwan with some bike brakes from Shimano, they spilled out on the floor in the Taiwanese factory, and they said, could we borrow that overnight? I'll get back to you tomorrow.
So we just
Surprise, surprise, they had a cheap version of the Shimano brake there by tomorrow, they copied it. So just about anything can be copied, including things like services, like an accountant could offer a particular service, processing service. We could competitively offer different sorts of courses, possibly, although it's a bit harder with government. It's a bit harder when you've got any money too. But, so the argument goes in this day and age, your competitive advantage actually comes from your people. Sorry. I'm going the wrong way with that. Importance of people. Nobody can match highly committed, motivated people who care. Now there are a huge number of organisations in the world that have people. Human resources. Relatively few can demonstrate good, really good performance and highly committed, motivated people who care. If a firm can achieve that, they are generally in a situation where they have quite a significant advantage. So if you're looking for a fairly glib phrase as to what we're all on about here, it is that in a very competitive world, much can be copied. It is much, much harder to copy highly motivated people, highly committed, motivated people who care. And it's everywhere you look. Like, pluck one example out of the air, a trucking company like Aratuna or Crofties or somebody like that, there is a hang of a difference in the performance of their organisation depending on how good those drivers are in looking after the trucks and all the rest. And that's why a lot of them go on to owner-driver contracts and offer them, because an owner-driver takes an awful lot more care of a big rig than a wage. I mean, they're only human. There's that sort of thing. And I mean, think of your organisation, those thundering great diggers, there's an awful lot can go wrong very quickly if somebody's not entirely to grips with those two. I think we can let that go for the purpose of this course. The notion of differentiation is all about making something different. So, hundreds of people wear hoodies. So how do you make them different? Somehow or another you've got to think of a way to make them different. So you have different styles, you have different colours, you have this and that and the other thing. But by and large, they're still sort of hoodies. Challenge. There's no computer, isn't it? One of my classes, I said, how do you differentiate a computer? And one of my classes says you offer left-hand mouses, which was quite advanced really in those days.
I go to the library and change them over because I'm left-handed and I
Yeah.
change them over. They get real fast.
Shoes. Think of all the shoes and footwear now that's on offer, you know, for you to go running and all of these sorts of things. There's vastly different things, all trying to sort of sell a type of technology. Bikes are another one, different styles. So the overall thing we're looking for is what we call differentiation. So that when you go in to sell something and they say, what's new, what's different, you've got an answer. Now,
It's not cheeky.
some dear little Chinese students faced the challenge of how to make the shoes different. And their idea was an adjustable heel. You see that heel can go up and down, so it could be flat or high. And they stood up and they gave this presentation about their shoe very, very seriously. They had very serious faces on about how this was going to make their shoe different.
Do you know what? I think that's actually being marketed like on a shoe. I've seen
it.
it.
Very well could be.
Yeah, I've seen it. Or you can take something off, so you can have a high shoe
Yeah.
or a low shoe.
Like the shoes with the wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, we quickly made sheepskin jackets that were reversible, that could be suede on the outside or woolly on the outside.
They were the hideous things, mate.
They did enable you to change the style without ever buying new jackets. Put it that way. Right, why don't you take 5 minutes now if you want to take a walk down there, leg stretch and all the rest. How about that?
Yeah, is that kitchen open?
Oh,
The kitchen downstairs.
I was torturing her cooking.
I think that our tutors need to actually have a word with the catering staff.
We need to do some sampling.
And when they are doing that, yes, I think
what
so.
drives me nuts is when the coffee wafts up.
Oh. Yeah, would you say, like in my husband's business, they don't really have to do marketing?
What's he? He's Carway.
Well,
Sailing off coal.
Coal and gold, but he does gold.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have to really do marketing.
Because there's not a lot of marketing for
I
gold.
would think that, I'm only guessing, because
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but the only thing I think they'd have to think about is being reliable in terms of their grading. You know,
Yeah.
if a company's put in an order then for a certain grade of coal,
Well, it's just the mesh. The mesh is
That's all.
The mesh is set up for aluminum
So you
gold.
don't-
So it's a really fine. You know, we're not looking for the nuggets.
now that's for the gold.
Oh.
They're good, but yeah,
Oh.
they just go at the back.
No, gold you wouldn't have to market, the
Yeah.
only thing you're interested in is how much you can get for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a newest currency.
And gold can be proved by, what do they call it, assaying or the
Yeah,
assay.
yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Coal, however, is
Yeah.
often blended. You know, the steel makers will want a particular sort of
Yeah.
coal, certain sort of
Hot coal,
characteristics.
yeah.
And you, mostly coal miners end up blending it a bit.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge in your firm is getting it out efficiently.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, Lucy, with those new diggers in it now, you can, like, the husband can go online and see what time, you know, old Roger started. Did he start at 7? Or he has to half past 7?
Oh.
You know?
That's
Because their
handy.
GPS tells you.
They clock in, yeah.
Tells you when they stop.
Yeah,
So, you know, how many times they have breaks throughout the day. All
yeah.
that sort of stuff. How much fuel he's using.
Handy.
Yeah.
What you know, you tell him to get organised so that he can sit in an armchair with a beer
Yeah.
and a computer
Yeah.
and have a drone
That sounds
sitting
like
up
the way.
above, and
Yeah.
he can direct it towards where it's supposed to be digging.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't need it.
Oh, he's got to be on my site though, because he's got his A grade, you see, so you've got to be on site the whole, some of them with an A grade has to be on site the whole time.
You'll still be in a chair drinking a beer though. That's
Yeah. I'm sorry, from a bar.
right.
Yeah, I'm sure WorkSafe would really, you know, they'd go for that one.
Well, we're safe in the end. They're going to have to start trying to cope with that sort of
Oh,
thing, don't they?
yeah.
It's like the famous building shit.
Yeah, it's getting really, really difficult, eh? So my husband can't take any time off because it just, there's not that many people with A grade certificates, you know? Yeah, and especially up the Pipe River, it's just got, you know, it's just,
And the challenge of the big producers is just simply production efficiency.
yeah.
I mean, I know one guy that was a competitor with us when we made bikes. I don't know what his background was. He said, oh, listen, you jokers, you just making all this up. There's only one thing about bikes, all you got to do is make them cheap.
Yeah.
And he was wrong about that, but it was one way of looking at it.
So, what, how come is it ATC or something? Do they?
Yeah, they use the range.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the atrium.
parades at the
Oh,
back.
yeah. Oh, maybe, yeah. Last week I did see them marching around St. Pat's.
Yeah, they go up there too
Yeah.
to get a big flat space, I think.
Yeah. Oh, KFC's got a few cars there. Yeah. Well, what's going on here? It's a few cars reversing. Right. I want KFC tonight. That's it. That dude's. He's pulling out.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to bother waiting here.
The only times I've been in there, only two times, is the you don't find the counter in one whole order at a time.
Yeah. Hold on, mate. Then he's pointing to the disability part. That's not okay.
That's not okay.
Yeah. And I bet he doesn't come out to the.
Now, Deb, you obviously made a little start there. Was that sort of going all right? You're locking on all right?
I think so.
See what the questions meant, sort of? Well, you obviously had enough to look at.
Yeah, I just looked at question 2 and it was like, oh, I'm not even gonna, I did attempt to answer it. But then we haven't really learned about it, so.
There's no right or wrong answer to.
Okay.
It's really your opinion.
Oh, is that the wood and the trees, whatever?
No, it's the next one. Question 2. If a long gone measure of success in marketing was simply sales revenue,
So that would be like customer, so another way of measuring it could be like your customer base has increased,
yeah,
the
repeat
visitors.
purchases and things like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that's the answer for that
Yeah.
basically.
And suggest one trend in marketing based on recent evolution that you believe may develop in the medium term. Your guess.
Okay. So for the B one, is that yes or no, or just there's either can be
Yes was a good argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Hang on.
is it.
So I've got yes, and then I've got like the umbrella of what marketing's all
Yeah,
about.
an accountant claimed that marketers couldn't see the wood for the trees, and the essence of marketing was to promote the company's product range.
Well, that is, right.
Yes, you can get number 1.
That's, that one?
When you go down that list, that's the old style of marketing.
Yep.
And really, the accountant's talking about sort of one of these ones here.
Yep.
You, as a good marketer, are talking more about one of these ones up here. So the accountant's probably fundamentally wrong.
Okay.
So no.
So you're on it.
I've scribbled out yes, I agree to no, I don't agree.
And why? Because Ian said so. Oops.
Right. So the last piece for this is therefore the the corporate social responsibility. Now the regional land about that. Yeah, it's.
Oh, it's all those ones there.
What, are you giving up
Yes.
more?
Oh, leadership.
Yes.
We did corporate social responsibility and whatever we did last. Organisational
politically-
management. Well, I did in my assessment anyway.
It's politically correct, we've got the Noel Business School, I think. Okay, so that's where.
Yeah, I touched on that in my last assessment. I did. Still
Like
on
weeks ago. You haven't done leadership.
No, are you doing that
applied
one?
management either.
No.
Some stuff you in those 2 courses too.
Oh, well,
Have you done,
it must be my turn to bring the treats at the end of this one
That's
then.
right.
you've done leadership, haven't you?
No, I've done leadership, I've done accounting and business communications and
Look at this
organisational
carefully,
management.
because this is pretty much a lift out of leadership, this bit on corporate social responsibility, because I'm not going to do 3 different ones for the same thing.
Oh, because Kate said that that leadership I'd sail through that because a lot of it was in what I'd be doing leading up to it.
Bit of an overlap with
Yeah.
organisational management too.
Yeah.
It's alright, more knowledge to be it. Right, we're up to corporate.
So are we in this room on Thursday then? For
You come to this, I think the answer is definitely yes, but if it isn't, I'll put notice in the door.
Oh, right, yeah.
With the map.
Yeah.
Things we're not showing around the college yet.
At least in the daytime, you'll be able to go and get a coffee.
Well, it's freezing there.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
true.
keeping still open.
Yeah, KKs. I go there like
Maybe
quite a
not.
lot.
I don't know, they shut very quickly when the students
Yeah,
are
so
pretty much to see how
they
it is.
students here.
No, she's shutting up, I think. She did tell us, so I think we've still got a couple of weeks. Let's see what they say.
Right, so this is all about firms being socially responsible. Now, I think I heard on the BBC last night that in a big survey in England, only 40% of businesses had any form of policy about equal employment for females, gender employment. So the argument was they're not being very socially responsible.
Are they? No, they're not really.
Because I'm reasonably sure of the fact, I think in New Zealand in the public service, there's a phrase called positive discrimination.
Yeah.
And what it says is that if two people have been shortlisted for the job, a fellow and a woman, and their qualification, experience, blah, 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 are pretty much the same, the woman has to get it.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah, I just heard on the radio just earlier today that the Prime Minister said that there's not enough women in leadership roles. That was just today. She wants to see more women in management leadership roles.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, lady, hold up.
Because there is a bit of it, also a few studies that are saying that some of the corporate mistakes that have been made would have not been made if there had been one or more women on a board of directors.
Just saying women are more thorough.
Common
So,
sense.
Women are more thorough.
different, and I don't mean that unkindly, I mean a different approach. Really.
Yeah.
More understanding, I guess.
Yeah.
For the woman.
Well, they're half of society, for God's sake. They must have some perspective.
Just different input, yeah.
And I think firms are very slow to break the so-called glass ceiling. You know, the number of people in the private sector in top jobs that are women are really pretty few.
Yeah.
Every now and then one floats up to the surface, but my God, there's not many.
There's also a lot of sexual abuse claims coming out about men too, especially leadership men. We wouldn't do that.
Well, in a very man's world, the
Speak
women...
for yourself.
In a very man's world, the women were good at welding pipes because they were a bit more delicate. You know.
Ah, yes.
The fellas were a repair bust, but they were very delicate. Anyhow, corporate social responsibility. So, the basis for some of what we're doing in these organisations comes from our ethics. So, where would ethics come from? Where would your ethics come from?
Kind of like
Values.
Value, well, they almost interrelated, yes.
your culture,
Your
They come from
culture,
what you learn, your circumstance,
your family.
your family,
what you've learned, yeah.
what you've learned.
The way we do things around here.
Yeah.
May we grow, oh, somebody's done an organisation in that. The way we do things around here, the way we do things on the coast.
Yeah.
So that forms the underlying expectation in society. And it's changed quite a bit. Like the most obvious change is smoking, really. And the most obvious negative change is the growing design of drugs, which are
Yeah, synthetics.
tearing into the system.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of jargon from somewhere.
From your website that you've told us to look up,
Yeah.
businessballs.com.
So, this comes through, so-called ethical organisations come through in being socially responsible, and that involves all sorts of things like air pollution, water pollution, environment, work practices, and so on. The triple bottom line, which is in your handout, triple bottom line is saying the easiest way to remember it's the 3 P's. People, planet and profit is the triple bottom line. So all firms are interested in profit, of course, but in the triple bottom line they also are encouraged to consider as part of their bottom line the extent to which they are responding to people and the planet. It's a fairly straightforward read for you, and it's not very hefty. So if you'd like to turn the page and keep going till you get the heading triple bottom line arguments in favour. So, how about thinking about telling me something?
It's after your fair trade shit at the front.
Oh,
Yeah.
So how would a firm potentially benefit from this sort of thing, this sort of approach?
well, everyone will be on the same page, aren't they? Have I gone like it?
All right? Well, one more page to get to the arguments for
What are they over there? So I think
tell me some of the things that,
from the start.
how might a firm gain? From being ethically responsible, socially responsible.
No, I told us to go to that's back in there, that one of these back in there. Pacific Line to the last page.
So would they gain, a big one might be reputation. Would they build a positive reputation if they did it better than someone else?
Yes.
I suppose it's all, your company values again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's could have a positive effect on customers' perceptions. People that dug up gold mines, if they replaced ethically responsibly, replaced the dirt, put trees on it.
I think it's a lot better than it was.
Oh
You
yes,
know?
yeah, of course, just slightly heavy.
Yeah.
It's interesting, one of the students here worked for Noel Evenings and asked the management if she could do a bit of a survey. Noel Evenings had gone into quite a thing saying they were being ethical about this and that and the other thing, through advertising and all the rest. And she did a survey to decide if customers saw this positively or not. And unfortunately, most of the customers hadn't heard of it. They hadn't taken any notice of it.
Yeah.
They just hadn't bitten. The other way they say that people sometimes can benefit, and it's a little bit, and again I know this is a silly example, but it's a little bit like a tannery, which I actually worked for one day, made a lot of money because they were forced to clean up the muck they were sticking in the river, and they made very good machinery for this, and they could sell it to a whole lot of other people once they'd done that. And that's a benefit. They made money out of fixing up their pollution. But there's a few other things that if a firm might decide they're going to support a rugby club, or the rugby club might get, will appreciate that and will put a good impression in the minds of the rugby players maybe, and so on. So there's a few ways in which they can do it. What are the arguments against that?
Division of labour.
If you're sitting here sort of saying all companies should be socially responsible.
There's a cost factor though, isn't it?
Cost.
Yeah.
That's the big one. And then there's the arguments who should bear the cost. The company might be arguing that its business is its business, not being socially and corporate responsible. It leads on to arguments like, and I'm not saying I support this, and I'm not even saying you often hear it, but there was a discussion one time that said, does an organisation like the Salvation Army or the St Paul de Vincent Society or something like that, is there any argument for them going fairly easy on how much corporate responsibility they get into? And the argument they were trying out was they have scarce resources, they want to help the maximum number of people, so the less amount of money they have to spend on some of this other stuff is better for their main client. And I'm not saying I agree with that argument, but it is an argument. So does society bear the cost of some of these things generally? Either through taxes or through giving to the organisation, industry fund. There's also somewhere in that handout that in a poverty-stricken African nation, can you really blame a starving native who goes after a reasonably rare springbok animal and knocks it off to eat? That's the argument.
Question we'll be in that situation, don't we, That old human factor.
See, it comes down to little things too sometimes. Supposing you are sort of a leader or whatever of a school, primary school, and every now and then they're coming home to you because they're wanting a couple of dollars to go on a trip or do some, whatever it is, some extra activity, and that's all good, and some of it might be corporately, socially responsible. But for some of the people they are sending home a note to give a couple of dollars, they haven't got a couple of dollars. Yeah, it is, I don't know what the proportion is, but my guess is it'd be something like up to a quarter of the families in Rainmouth would be finding it pretty hard to find too many dollars just out of the head.
Yeah, my school's pretty good. I'm like, I'll keep you next week. No, okay.
Do it hit you up?
No. I pay it.
Oh,
but,
you do?
Yeah. But yeah, no.
Well, you're on about all the voluntary donations you have to make to schools.
I don't pay school fees because I give them so much money throughout the year, which I'm sure is more than the $80 that they're asking, and my time.
Yeah, you're good. You'll go down there and do all that stuff.
Oh, I'm on the referee
Yeah,
table
see, I
this
do
weekend.
try and help out.
2 hours.
I reckon that one approach to that is, just as an aside, I somehow or another, when I was very young, got involved in the pacing organisation.
Yeah.
Pretty large
Done that.
voluntary. Anyhow, so they were sitting around saying, blah, 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 and starting to talk about cake stalls and all these sorts of things, sort of fundraising. And me and another one said, let's just test the idea that we all stick $100, but we don't. Cake stalls and all this. So they said, yeah, that'd be a much better idea. That's really where that school fees things came from.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to put it at school fees, or do you want to have it as cake stalls and fundraising?
Our school does both. Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of fundraising is all right.
Our school's a huge fundraising school.
Oh, yeah, so it's for.
Goro, yeah.
But saying that the field was tugging this year, so they didn't let it go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just rattle through a few of these jargony things that go with social responsibility. Globalisation produces negative effects. For instance, the firms that are rebuilding Christchurch and the alternative highway, God knows what else, and many building contractors in New Zealand are employing Filipinos and all sorts of people at peanuts wages. And that could be argued to be not terribly socially responsible. It might cut New Zealanders out of jobs, or it might not. I don't know what the story is there. Half of me sees some of New Zealanders going on those jobs couldn't work half as fast as the Filipino and their lives are real kind. Sustainability in this context is all about doing things that don't long-term damage the environment. Like if you're cutting trees, you plant at least one, possibly two trees for every one you've got out type of argument, and that keeps it sustainable. And that's where this notion of renewable resources comes from, as distinct from resources you're bringing up. A social enterprise is an organisation that is usually founded or run on the basis of producing social benefits, notably jobs or perhaps training or something like that, and they often end up as multiple ownership or profit sharing businesses. So the four of us might be in a social enterprise, and the money the social enterprise makes perhaps goes to do a few quite good things, and then anything that's left over goes out as a profit share to the four of us. So that's not a typical commercial model. There's a bit of talk about that these days. Cooperatives and employee ownership are similar to social enterprises, but there are some very large cooperatives in this world. In theory, a cooperative is a multiple ownership thing, and it's supposed to distribute profits to the owners. So what's the big one nearest us? Which is milk company. And Fonterra. You like that? Yeah.
I was going to say incorporate.
Both Fonterra and Western Milk Company, they don't sort of necessarily say this, but they struggle a bit with maintaining that cooperative form of ownership to the large organisations.
You could have paid quite a bit for it, like $250,000.
Microfinance is all about the argument that says in a nation that's really struggling to survive, like Bangladesh, to put one out of the year, a very small amount, $5 will go quite a long way in helping them to buy some seed, which they no other way of getting, and establishing micro growth of veggies and all of this type of thing. And the other argument goes with in areas that are short of water, in these poverty-stricken areas, don't try and give them diesel pumps to pump the water from one place to another. They wouldn't know how to fix them, and they wouldn't be able to afford to put fuel in them.
Are they like them hand
Just
ones?
sit there. So you give them little wee hand pumps to
Yeah.
do just the same thing. The micro stuff. There's quite a famous book, it's getting old now, but it's called, yeah, it's really selling the idea of small business. Small is beautiful, that's the name of the book. And the other one which we here talk about is well-being at work and life balance. Around, can't remember exactly when it was, we were all being told that we would have to start to think about using our leisure, our increasing leisure. That would be one of the greatest jokes of all time. From then on, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Much to it up to that.
Oh, sure. But there's a lot of talk now about work and life balance, and some firms engage in it a bit, some don't. This is the people argument of people, planet and profit. So give me a couple of good things you could say if a firm did something along the lines of well-being. What would that be? Well-being at work. You decided I'd count from out.
Oh, they could bring in, sometimes you could do a bit of a 20-minute massage or something.
Yep.
During smoking.
Is that like yoga balls at that desk, like computer desks instead of chairs?
10-minute head and shoulders, somebody walking past you? I don't know, yeah.
When I was working in London, I had the best job ever with Bonavista, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
Walt Disney Company, Yeah, amazing. Like, that was, it was an awesome company to work for.
That's another, in London, John Lewis Partnership, you know that? That's a dirty, great big cooperative. Sloane Square, Peter Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the other things that go with this well-being at work are the sort of notions of 5 minutes in the hour to sit back from a computer, all of this sort of thing. Some firms are quite good at it, some are not. The work-life balance, and to some extent well-being at work with the work-life balance, the most obvious things to that are flexi time. People have different family responsibilities, have different body rhythms and all sorts of things like that. And it's not so common now, but flexi time was legislated for in New Zealand a while ago, where firms had to consider proposals for flexi time, which meant that, so what some firms did said, okay, well, if you want a bit of flexi time, we'll have to work it a bit like this. We want somebody on the reception phone all day from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. So you flexi time people, we ought to make sure that there's always somebody at the phone type argument. And I learned an interesting thing when employment, when it was quite hard to get people, when the unemployment rate was really low, we wanted people to work at packing jobs in a warehouse, a bit boring, but it was sort of all right. And we couldn't really get people. And I just about seen phones red hot around crisis because I put in the ad, school hours okay. Because in those days, people couldn't get school hour jobs for love or money, to drop the kids off at school. They poured in the door just about. But we actually, it's one of these little industrial psychology things, I think. Actually, we quickly found that the people who were working 9 till 3 actually had a greater output than the people that worked from 8 to 5, even though they were working less time. So if somebody was going to be ruthless like me, that was the way to go. You couldn't lose. I asked one of them one time, why? Why do you reckon that is? I'm actually interested in knowing. I need answers from you. And the one answer I knew was they were slightly better in terms of aptitude. But the real one, she said to me, was simple. She said, we drop the kids off at school, we come in at 9 o'clock, smoke about 10:30, and then lunch at 12, and we restart at 12:30, and all of a sudden it's time to go home. And they could sort of burn away at it quite quickly in the short spaces of time. Yeah.
If you're at home, you wouldn't get your 10:30 break or your lunch break. You'd be 2 o'clock, oh, starving.
In England, they have a thing called an Institute of Business Ethics, and it suggests that when you make a decision, it needs to meet the 3 criteria. First, transparency. Happy to make my decision public, especially to the people affected by it. Think of how many organisations, what's that phrase, do things on the basis of secret squirrel. They just don't tell people. They just say this is how it's going to be done. Number 2 is the effect of a decision. Have I fully considered the harmful effects and how to avoid them? And the third one, is it fair to all concerned? Here's the triple bottom line again, just pretty big. That, guys, will get us to pretty much where we need to be. I'll pick up we'll move on, you're all okay? No, you're not okay for Thursday, but otherwise okay for Thursday?
Yeah.
Keep that moving along. I haven't given you all the link sheet for the videos yet because I'll put that one on it too, and then all the 4 of you doing it will then have a sequence of videos. I'll just remind you in case I forget, some of them will be a bit out of sync with what we're doing because of it's a slightly different course, but by and large it'll be in the videos. Some of you will probably choose not to use videos at all, you'll just pick it up out of the handout. Like you're well on the way with those. Please show me the So, queries, worries?
So when's this assessment? 16th of January?
Yeah.
Quite daunting. There's quite a lot in there, we bored. There is, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's why I says to you, I'm not going past what we're learning. Because there's all just a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do.
Environmental factors, eh?
Yeah.
And remember, if you pick along, so long as you don't overdo it, I mean, you can flick me you could have flicked me an email on that and said, is this
okay.
quite
Yeah.
happy? Well, when I'm not here, you certainly can.
Yeah.
I'll chip the ice
I'll
off
do a
the
rough
computer.
version and then email it to you and actually check it.
Yeah.
And
You can do a little bit as you go if you're a bit worried about, does this look right?
Well, that's why I thought.
Exactly, yeah. And I get a few emails from time to time, am I on the right track, and I'll say yes or no, or maybe, sort of
Yeah.
thing. That should work for you.
Alrighty. Oh, God.
Now you have to go and get the tea.
Oh, no,
Starving.
What? I've still got an hour, 45 minutes.
yeah, I thought we were here at 8.
Yeah, me
So
too.
that's
I've got
same.
mine- I've
It's
got mine
actually
out at
nice.
8.
Did I say 8? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry about that.
Ah.
So
That's
on
all right.
Thursday, on the first lesson, we left at 6:45.
Yes.
10 to 7.
Yeah.
So on Thursday, they're only going to be here for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if you've seriously got the time, we can, that's a short handout. Do you want to take that and have a look at it?
I might as well.
Doesn't worry me. No, that's fine.
I'm going to let my husband do something.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, my daughter's
No,
got
that's all good.
So is this what we missed out on the other day? No, this is a new
Those are
one.
the new ones.
You in?
Okay. Nothing to do with that assessment though.
That will be.
It's to do with one of these systems. Let me have a look at the schedule and I'll tell you.
Yep,
There's a little bit of it
marking
in the one you've got, the number
Question
1.
4.
What does the question say? Question 4?
And that question 4, it's,
That's 3.
That's in
I did
Identify true sources of potentially. Who's ringing
Okay,
me?
so that's this,
That's this one.
yeah.
Hello. Good, from where? Oh, hi. Yes. No, but I might be able to find someone who can. Yep.
Now, this is mainly out of the handout only. Oh, there's a few
Yeah.
good points there, sorry. Yep.
Okay, I'm just writing this down, means where. Okay, yep, I just wrote that down, so yep, not a problem.
Right, yeah, promise you that one is good.
Yep, I know where they are. So is it, what is happening each Tuesday? Do I need to be there? Oh, cool. I thought it was. I thought it was. No worries. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye. That was Darren's ear cadets personal. I could be like, bring back
Oh,
that.
I tell you, this vehicle I saw today, so it must be around in years.
Huh,
0800, you know,
Yeah.
vacate.
yeah.
Yeah, this is outside my tent stuff.
Good
Yeah.
on you.
Can't miss it, Martin.
No, well done.
He's a hard case.
Yes, he's got a few strings to his bow, hasn't he?
Yeah.
touching base on it.
Deal with it, and I'll pick up that.
We don't have to, like, in this marketing package, there's no sort of like, we don't have a test, you know, like
No.
someone's cake.
And those,
No,
Oh, that's good.
they're all assessed.
and the only one that could answer it was Zane. We just let Zane answer it.
Yeah.
And then he'll jump in on his bandwagon. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, now what we're on about here in this section is knowing one's market or potential market and the notion of starting to build information in order to eventually make marketing plans. So typically an organisation will end up with a strategic plan, longer term, so
Yep.
5 years, something like that. And then we'll end up with plans that go with the major divisions of the company. So, marketing plan, a production plan, a financial plan, and a human resources plan.
Do they all have goals that go with them? Like when we do the strategic plan and the
Yes, they
tactical
do.
plan, we had like mini goals that had to go in with that. Did
Pretty
they
much.
do that too?
Pretty much, you have objectives or marketing objectives or whatever. And if you flick through that handout a little bit, you don't need to necessarily, I'll just tell you it's there and you can look yourself. There's a few formats to show you how these plans can come about, including a thing called a one-page marketing plan.
That's just the five easy steps.
Yep.
Right.
But, yes, but the main thing we're on about for this section of the course really is the obtaining information or obtaining marketing information about potential markets. So, So the key point, the starting point is to achieve us knowing the market and going with that business planning. Now, in order to be useful, the plan needs to be informed. I think I told you the story about a marketing consultant that told the tannery I worked for that they would sell 200,000 baby clear lambskins in a year in New Zealand. And I was a bit edgy about that. I thought, ooh, I'm not sure that is. Before very long, I worked out that there are actually only 60,000 babies born a year in New Zealand at that time. So you were hardly going to sell 200,000 things for 60,000 babies. And so it's that sort of information, is getting it, looking at it, evaluating and saying, hang on, that basis is wrong. If we build a plan on the basis of 200,000 babies, we're going to lose a lot of money. And in another series of success factors, market research was rated highly as being most important. You did Lisa's course, didn't you? Sue?
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Except for all the calculation stuff.
Yes, he
A lot of calculation.
used to leave here behind because he would start on a whiteboard and start over there somewhere and end up way there.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got to collect information, we've got to organise it and ultimately present it. So these are some of the things we would probably like to get research on, information on. Market share. What's our market share? What might be our market potential? So for instance, to use that baby care lambskin argument, our market potential, absolute ultimate potential, was going to be 60,000 babies. Obviously you won't sell all of those either, but so who bought most of those?
China.
So the Japanese did.
Oh, I was going to say the Eskimos.
Yeah, Asians.
At the risk of diversion with those baby care lambskins, the Japanese came out with a dirty great big camera thing to make a TV ad of the three of them. Anyway, they said, we want to film a baby going to sleep. You know, we had a baby and two or three other people. And everybody that heard that said, you've got to be joking.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would put 3 babies down in 3 different rooms. And they said, now we can go and have a whiskey while we wait for the babies or something like that. And anyhow, this baby, one of them did start to go to sleep. And they had it up on a table, something like this, on the lambskin. And the camera's way over there. And the lights are on it, just about burning the poor old baby sort of thing. But the dear old baby lifted its head very, very sleepily up like that and then dropped it down on the baby bed.
Oh, that's good marketing, right there.
$1 million photo. It was $1 million photo too. Yeah, it was one in this world. God, it was impressive on the TV.
Yeah.
The chance to get a baby in sleep was great. So, the nature of the market is, that's a fairly broad phrase for things like, are we doing our children, are we doing our females, are we doing our seniors, and all this sort of thing. And then we come down to things that we specifically can get information on, usually quite easily, sales analysis, what you've done before in the firm, you've been running for more than a year. Business trends, looking at your different products. And then product testing is often used and probably should be used more. This is where you test products with people like, righto, you people, we want you all to taste the drink in this bottle and tell us which one you prefer. So the bottle will label 1, 2, 3 and 4 and off you go. And then they'll come, then it's called blind tasting then when it comes back. They do it with cosmetics. They get people to try particular cosmetics. They do it with chocolate tasting to get the different flavours that are in the boxes of Rose's chocolates. Anyhow, product testing. You also have to, product testing, you also have to test your products too, like a lot of dear old New Zealand manufacturers fall into a few traps with clothing. So if you stand here with a New Zealander, they'll typically have an arm length relative to the body, and Americans will be about 2 inches longer in the arms for the same body, and the Japanese and the Asians will be 2 inches shorter, so you've got to get that right for start. Things like that, product testing. Taiwanese are very clear because they make, what was the phrase they used for that? Free size, so they had sort of tie things so that you could shift the sleeves up and down and just tie them. They were quite clever. And the same with the torso length too. They had things inside and you just sort of, one size fits all. Quite clever. So, there's some other areas coming down now into the modern areas that are very, market size is obviously measurable in the end, and market characteristics to some extent, where people live and that sort. What is much more difficult to research is people's lifestyles and even more so people's perceptions. The only way you can really determine people's perceptions is through quite detailed interviewing, really. And this is where you usually, organisations tend to pay for those sort of ones, people's perceptions. How do you see that? Then we can have mass markets and niche markets. And then we have this notion, a bit like we looked at before with the business organisation within an environment, like just going up the hierarchy, up to international. So more things. Learn about people. All of that is available in census data as a matter of interest, down to quite small areas. We won't do that, do you? People's perceptions are based on logic and emotion. They are based more on emotion than they are on logic. Right, so these are types of research. Desk research is where you can do a study into this, I suppose. So you've got your internal information, such as sales records. And then you've got published information, and what of course isn't on this here is Google, the internet. primary research is where we get information from groups of people. And where the word primary comes from, it means that that particular research with a particular group of people is the only one that's ever been done, sort of thing. It's the first time that one's been done. Primary research. So these can be personal interviews with a questionnaire, telephone interviews, mail surveys, focus groups, and product tests. All possible ways of getting primary research from people. Again, we should probably add in the last couple of years, you've heard the phrase survey monkey, haven't you?
Yeah.
They are surprisingly useful things, those. I was quite impressed with those. They do seem to get quite good numbers responding to them. There's a wee bit of an argument that says their weaknesses, they depend on people looking at computers to spot them, but can't have it all, can we? You can get published research reports. I'll flick this really seriously quickly because you don't necessarily need this. So, this is just to demonstrate that you can get a variety of published research reports. You usually have to pay for them. The Gap clothing company had done very well with jeans, and so they wanted to sort out what else people might wear with jeans, and therefore they needed to ask a fair bit about style and so on. So that was a fundamental question. How do you wear your jeans? So, 21% of New Yorkers preferred a low-rise jean. 16% wore their jeans with sporty hoodie and trainers, which of course gave Gap a good clue that they could be starting to get into sporty hoodies and trainers, which they did.
Doesn't say anything about high rise. The percentage of people that like the high rise jeans.
I don't know whether they didn't ask that question. You can imagine my slight embarrassment with predominantly male Chinese, predominantly female Chinese class demonstrating what a low-rise jeans. The poor old things, they didn't know what hoodies were either, so I had them on my nosebleed. I sort of pointed nicely to them. I said, now I'm going to point to a few people that I'd like to come up to the front. So all the ones had hoodies and trainers on. They didn't know that at the time, but they came out the front. Terribly embarrassed, but here they were. Is the low-rise jeans? God, I suppose they are, yes. That was a hoodie. Then there was a report on the Generation X, which is baby boomers' children. So that's really close to Generation X. Where are you wise? I'm not quite sure.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
No, I'll shut up then. And so on. So you can buy this information, read reports, do surveys, and once again what this isn't saying is that in this day and age you can write a question into Google and most of these sorts of things will come up in some form or another. Americans believe that over half the world's population speaks English, but actually only 20% do. So this is where you start sorting out people's perceptions. We're a bit lucky, actually. Speaking English. Okay, so that's stuff about polls, which doesn't matter to this. Now we need to look at some issues regarding recognising some of the limitations of these things. I'll just rattle through a few of them with you. When you do a survey of people on SurveyMonkey or personally ask them, there is a tendency for them to tell you as individuals what they think you want to hear. It's a bit of a bias. Doesn't mean it's utterly useless, but it is a bit of a bias. The focus group, which has a smaller number of people obviously, about 8 or 10 at the most, that clearly is a limited number, but it does allow good interviewers and whatnot to, what's that phrase, dig deep and so on, and you get some fairly meaningful perceptions and opinions from them. You also have the phenomena of the use of sample size, so that sample size says that a relatively small sample will give you the same pattern of results as a much larger sample. So for the immediate Greymouth area, probably something like if you visited about somewhere between 200 and 300 households and got a survey answer, you would get much the same pattern as if you'd asked everybody. So a sample is a legitimate way of getting information. That's how those TV
As I was
polls.
gonna say, that's how Sky and Netflix do theirs, because they take
Yes.
they sort of take customers,
Some of them
willy-nilly.
take 1,000.
Yeah. and then they do the polls on that.
Right, so they do. So that's the focus group. So the strength of the focus group is you can dig deep. The weakness is that it's a relatively small number. A interview type of thing through SurveyMonkey or something like that, you can get quite high volume, but the results can be a little bit superficial and a bit biased. There are some other, second page in on that topic list, sorry, in the handout, about halfway down.
What?
Halfway down to that page there. It's only the second page in. Just a quick page. So, there are a few other approaches. Observations is something that is a very sensible thing to do. You could go and sit down the end of Mackie Street there, down by the railway station, and you could watch people, simply watch people coming off the train and see where they go. So which side of the street they're going to go down. Most.
I'm sorry, were you asking a question then?
Yeah.
Oh, they'd go down like Matthew Street, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they go down Mackie Street, but which side of Mackie Street?
The same side as what the,
Trains on.
train's on.
And the fact that if it's a sunny day, it's on the sunny side too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So observations, things like that. And people have also sat and watched the people coming off the train to see how far they go too. You know, they can only go so far in that hour and they can build up a bit of a pattern there. That's the ones that are just there for the day. Observation. Observing. Trying to think of the jargon. Observing footfalls, that's observing the numbers of people going into shops. Like if you were thinking thinking of buying a shop halfway down Mackey Street, you might go and sit in a coffee bar on the other side of the road and watch how many people are going into the shop you're thinking you might buy, or something like that. Some firms have very sophisticated information gathering. They, again, it's this footfall thing. I'm not quite exactly sure how they do it, but they, where people walk into the shop, like Marks and Spencer's do this in England, you're in effect counted as you go in. So at any given time, they could say 1,000 people went in between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock or something like that. And then they get their till information and find out how many people actually bought something. And they call that the footfall conversion rate. So they are very interested in figuring out how they're going to get people to buy once they've got them in the door. Given that they tend to understaff them, those shops, so they don't, I mean, you can't assume everybody's going to be greeted as you come in the door. I wondered if it would be quite interesting to have a robot that greeted them as they come in the door, that just said something to them, moved its head around. Observation. There's a little, on turning the page, there's a little bit of a general heading where firms will sometimes think about putting together a bit of budgeting. What my phrase for that is ballpark budgeting. It's not highly accurate, but you're looking at getting a look in a ballpark and starting off on how a marketing budget might hang together.
We're doing this with these.
We did this.
Cash flow projection.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So you know it well.
Oh, kind of a little bit in the accounting minus the indirect costs and corporate
Yes.
costs, but
Yes.
you sort of got it.
Yeah. Revenue, yes. I think it's profit.
Yeah,
The
that
ones
revenue
that,
equals profit.
It's probably all for company ones, but the relationships are actually quite important, I guess. So the whole thing starts off with the sales revenue, what you're going to sell. Then there's the direct costs, the old hamburger example I sometimes use. You know, you need one bun, one hunk of meat, one squirt of sauce and one carton. They're direct costs. So for every one you sell, you have to have one each of those things. Every 100 you sell, you have to have 100 each of those things. And then, so that's the sort of the top two lines. And then you've got the issue of the overheads, the phones, the power and all the rest that you're paying regardless of how many you sell. And that all becomes quite important. The first challenge is to cover your overheads. The second challenge is to make some profit over and above that. I think it, can I just borrow that assessment a minute? If it's not good, does it actually do it? Oh yes, I remember that.
Oh, yes.
I'm done.
There's a chart, if you've got that assessment, I'll explain that chart to you.
Is that the
Oh,
bottom
the
one
table.
or the table?
Tables, timeless,
Yeah.
currency.
Right, yes, there's one track for young players in there. I'll just get that out. I'll go down it with you. Have you got it open at the
Yeah.
page?
Are we allowed to write on it?
I've been on mine.
Okay.
Like crazy. Something flies into my phone.
Right, so the track for young players is in that one. I've got to see some material. You mind if I just email each other a minute? No, leave it open so you can read it. These are the things that you need to look for in, I think the question's asking you if you're drawing down some information from the internet. So it's asking you to explain, make a comment about why is relevance there. What do we mean by relevance? I'm only looking for a couple of sentences at the most.
So, oh yeah, so it'd be like why we think it's relevant to,
Yeah. Is it relevant to what you're actually doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so doing this with you.
Timeliness is all about, can you get the information in a timely manner? In other
Yep.
words, can you get it in 2 or 3 weeks? Now, the trap thing I play is currency is not money. Currency is it current, modern, up to date. Accuracy, is it likely to be accurate?
The information you're getting?
Yes. And the last one is you'll be wanting to check it's cost effective.
Yeah.
If you're getting information on a survey that surveyed 5 people and you're paying $10 for it, it's not that much fun.
Good, that makes sense.
Okay, and 4B on that page, suggesting 2 possible limitations of intelligence from the source, that is an overseas agent. That's a matter of opinion from you. That's things like, I'll give you a couple of clues, would you be a language issue? Would you have vested interests? All of this sort of thing.
So a limitation of the possible limitation could be where it's come from for starters. Is their source accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Yep. Understand.
Same voice recorder.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I have to pull out Liz's small business book at school that exporting and roasting.
Yeah.
Feel free to email that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this. Yeah.